There's a place in the northwest of England called the Lakes District, and it's this vast swath of land where for many, many generations, families have been farming and shepherding flocks of sheep. Each day they get up and they get out and tend the flock all throughout this vast land of lakes that have been formed out of glaciers many years ago, deep forests, and rugged mountain fells. Fell's another word for mountain, and they're very different from our mountains here around camp. The tree line goes right up to the base of the mountain, and then the mountains soar for thousands of feet with no trees, just grass, just pasture land, up and over the fells, along into the valley. And there's one shepherd in particular here named James, who has been committed to preserving this work, this way of life, being a shepherd, as the world around him has changed. Many families no longer farm or lead a flock of sheep here anymore. There are not as many shepherds as there used to be. But James is committed to this work and this land in a really profound way. The Lakes District has gone from land to be worked to a national park, and national parks are great. More people have come in, and the Lakes District has become more about tourism and fun, and James is still here committed to this work and this way of life. He is a good shepherd. In the Gospel of John in chapter 10, Jesus talks about the difference between what he calls a good shepherd and a hired hand. I'm going to read this passage to you. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand, who is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and runs away. And the wolf snatches them and scatters them. The hired hand runs away because a hired hand does not care for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father. And I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that do not belong to this fold. I must bring them also, and they will listen to my voice. So there will be one flock and one shepherd. The good shepherd knows his sheep. The good shepherd knows her sheep. They care about them. They know their needs. They know when it's time to move them up and over the fell. They know when it's time to go and get the flock and bring them in, to welcome new lambs into the world, to shear the sheep, to move them to greener pastures. The hired hand doesn't know these things about the sheep. They're not as invested. They're not as committed. They're more temporary. So when the wolf comes, when the hard work needs to be done, the hired hand, who doesn't know the sheep as well, runs away, leaves the sheep. There's so many good shepherds in this world, in our communities, doing so many different kinds of jobs. James is one of these good shepherds. He knows the people, he knows the land, and he knows the sheep. And I think God's call for us to come into some bigger awareness in our communities, to know other people in a profound way, to really be committed to our place, is a beautiful calling. And when it becomes clear to us that God's calling us into this wonderful work of staying put, of committing ourselves to knowing the sheep and to welcoming new sheep into the flock, I think this is really good news, and it's good work to continue to be done. Thanks be to God.